So this is where I'm going to sink this piece of wood in, and just going to help me to retain the gravel which I intend to put in here. So I'm going to just move this stone and this membrane out of the way, get myself down to a reasonable depth, and hopefully that will retain the gravel. That's the plan. Okay, that's that one in. The beauty of this, of course, is that I can trim the grass when it grows right up to the edge really easily. Makes maintenance a real treat. And that's just an inch or so above the level of the ground so that it can retain the gravel. I'll end up putting a polythene membrane, I think, under this because I've got polythene lying around which needs to be used. And then the next one is this one. This looks pretty straightforward. I'm just going to take the edges out, drop it down so that I get a similar height, and that'll serve as the step that retains the gravel from travelling into the wood chip. So that's all the boundary I need. Get a fresh bit of wood chip in there probably just to fill the gap, but nothing's going to travel under there, but I need it that height just to make sure that it retains. So that's the whole of the path this end retained, which is important to keep that gravel in. And then I just need to work out a plan here. As you can see, it's still very cold, but it's been just the perfect weather to do lots of groundwork, and I've been getting carried away this morning. So I've taken out most of what I need to take out here to be able to set a level for putting some gravel in, and that's going to be great because that'll stop weed growth and make this area really serviceable in the winter. I've left this lemon balm, which has always been very prolific, needs a bit of a prune, but seems a shame to take him away. So I'll find a way of incorporating him in my plan, and it's always nice to have a little bit of lemon balm. And then the pavers that I've taken out of here are my solution for the rest of this path, and they will have to be stepping stones rather than a path, and of course I'll need to level them, but they'll work perfectly when it's really slippery in here for making sure that we don't slip. So a little bit of setting out to do. I think probably I could have done with just one more, but we'll see if we can find that one. And then all that material that I've taken out of around the coop has gone into here, where I still had quite a severe dip, and I'm going to spread that out, and that hopefully will bring the level up here, and we'll have progressed my onward battle to get this lower end of the allotment level rather than a big valley. This is the polythene that I'm going to be using both along the path and in the coop area. I'm not sure whether it'll go that far, but I've got more up by the raspberries if I need it. So it's been a pretty exhausting day, but it's been really a sense of achievement, and this cold weather is fantastic for this sort of work. I've just had an idea. It's funny when you're doing things like this, ideas just come to you. See what you think. So do you think that there bed, which I've been wondering what I'm going to do with, if I were to take the hoops off and just pop it into here, I'd need to take a bit of soil out and get it level, and probably take the weeds out, but we could have a nice bed in front of the coop, and that would be productive and make good use of that, I think. I'm going to think on it. We'll see. I couldn't resist. I thought I'd just put it there and see what it looks like. Tell me what you think in the comments. Well, it's bright and absolutely frozen solid, but it's a good day for moving manure, and I've had another delivery, so I'm going to make the most of the frozen ground so I don't churn everything up. I spent some time this morning just clearing up here, getting a nice straight edge along all the compost bins so that it didn't collapse, and I've pushed everything in. So this load's just going to fill up. We've got quite a lot of gaps, and even here, this one was filled to the top if you remember, but now it's moved down quite considerably, and everything I've taken from the front and put on the top has filled it back up a little bit, but I still need to fill in there. So this delivery should top these 3 off, and then they'll be set for the rest of the year probably, and I'll move into the others. So frozen ground, make the most of it and get that wheelbarrow going. So there she blows, another trailer in the compost bins, and that worked out really well this morning because it was nice and hard underfoot, and I haven't churned up the grass, and I've topped off those 3 bins, and they'll be covered over now for the rest of the winter, and I'll probably have to turn them once as we get into the spring months just to make sure the heat keeps up and it keeps decomposing. It's interesting, if you look at this one you can see the difference between the fresh golden brown and the older darker brown, and that's the decomposition starting to get a hold. So I think that's me done for today. Well, it's pretty cold out there today, so I decided one of the things I would be doing is potting on my peppers. So the peppers have done quite well. I only want a limited number of peppers, and I sowed a limited number of seeds accordingly. But I've got 4 varieties, and I've got 2 or 3 of each variety. So I think I'm going to end up potting up 11 peppers, which is going to be plenty for my needs. So pretty straightforward process. Just going to tease these out, and I'm going to put them into a fairly substantial pot. I just want to make sure I don't disturb them too many times, and I know last year they got quite large in a small pot, so I'm going to put them in this larger pot, and hopefully they'll just do really well. So that's my next step. So that just took a few moments. We've got 1, 2, 3 Dado de Mocha. There's 2 tiny ones in there, so I'm hoping one of those will come well. And then the Calcoca, got 2 decent sized seedlings. Semero, 3 of them. And the staple King of the North, we've got 3 as well. So we'll give them a water and pop them back in the propagator. Job done. Well, it got to -5 last night, so this morning's all about making sure the chickens are okay. So it's boiling water onto their ice-filled drinking containers, and hopefully that will melt it for a while. I'll probably need to come out 2 or 3 times during the course of the day. We'll see how we get on. This water is just lukewarm, so they can have a drink, and then I'll use the kettle in the shed to melt it when they finish having their first drink. Now the little girls is just as bad. This container is absolutely solid, so I'm going to have to take that out, I think, and defrost it. In the meantime, I think we'll have a little dish of water for them. Well, there's some pretty amazing ice features in the pond this morning. I'm going to get in and show you. So this is just ice that's come out of the water in the ground and is just frozen water. It's incredible. And underneath this is now dry. So I'm hoping if it thaws, we'll have a dry period. You can see those ice features there as well. Really quite incredible, but very beautiful. In these freezing cold temperatures, it's good to have some jobs that you can do in the house. And this time of year, I get pretty excited about the new season, and it makes me want to clean up my tools. It's that feeling that in the summer, when everything's under control, using carefully looked after tools while you're gardening gives you a bit of a thrill. I'll show you some of my tools and I'll tell you what I'm going to do just to clean them up. So these are my hand tools, and I've drawn a few conclusions over time. Now this tool, for example, is really very old. The handle's split. You can see it had blue paint on it at some time. But most importantly, it's stainless steel. It cleans up really well and it lasts, well, pretty much forever. I would imagine the biggest issue with this trowel will be replacing this handle if it does split, because it's got a ferrule on the end and probably a bit of a faff trying to get one that will fit it. And here's the fork version of it, exactly the same, stainless steel, absolutely great wearing, and I've enjoyed using those tools for many years. Here, this is a Kenton Stowe, and it's a bronzed finish. And when I bought it, I thought it might be bronze, but it transpires that it's just coated in a bronze finish, and it's actually steel, and you can see it rusting. And well, it's going to be fine. It'll last many years, I'm sure, but just doesn't have the durability that stainless steel has. And I've got a fork equivalent of that as well, and it's exactly the same. Now this is by far my favourite tool, and it's Kenton Stowe, and it's of the variety of a Dutch trowel, and that heart shape is synonymous with that Dutch trowel style, and this one's got a bit of curvature on it and it's fairly sharp towards the edge, but it's such a good tool for just sort of stabbing into the ground and pulling the earth away to plant. And well, I do aspire to one of those tools that Monty Don uses, which is a bit of a flatter version of this and a longer handle, and that would suit me, but we'll see. So that's my favourite. This is probably my second favourite, and this is a perennial spade, and it's just a small spade with a heart-shaped or arrow-shaped end, but it's so useful for just moving a bit more soil, and it's stainless steel and it wears fantastically. Now these tools do need a bit of sharpening, but now's not the time. In the winter, if you sharpen and bare any steel, like on these trowels, then it'll just rust. So I have a few things to do maintenance wise with these. Firstly, where I have got marks, I can remove them really simply. I use this block, which is a Garrison abrasive burrs and routers, it says, and it's basically a flexible abrasive block, and you just rub it on the tool and it removes any of the blemishes. And you might think, well, that's quite a faff for a garden tool, but I always take the view, if you look after your tools, then they'll look after you. And then of course the handles, and you can see how these have split, and that's because I just didn't care for them well enough. but in latter years I've learnt to put some linseed oil on these, and it just brings them up to look nice and protects the wood for future use. And the main thing with any oil that you're going to use on wood is that you don't use one that's going to end up making it sticky and gummy, and boiled linseed oil is perfect for that. So I'm going to give these a bit of a clean up. I'll use this abrasive on my scissors as well, and just see if I can get things cleaned up, and that'll be preparation for the spring summer season. Okay, that's got them pretty well cleaned up. I used a bit of wet and dry sandpaper on anything that was particularly stubborn, but generally it's just a good clean up. So the next step is applying the linseed oil, and do this just on a cloth. Try and keep one hand reasonably clean and just give it a good old thorough wipe, and hopefully it'll soak in nicely. And as you can see straight away, it brings the wood grain through and makes the tool look good, as well as nourishing the wood. And we'll take these aside once they're done and allow them to soak in fully. And there we go, that tool is ready for another season. So they come up really nicely, and just gives you pleasure using your tools when they're in really good condition, and certainly enjoy seeing the grain come through on the wood once you put some oil on it. So I'll be doing my large tools next, but they've still got some winter work to do, so it'll probably be a little bit later on in the season. So it's mid-February now, and today it's our last squash and pumpkin, and you can see from this blue Hubbard, which has got a really thick skin, that it's protected the flesh inside this squash really well. And if you have any doubts about how you can store squash, then as long as it's in a cool, relatively dry place, then here we are, mid-February, and we're still eating them, and they're as good as the day we took them out of the ground. Fantastic. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.